Hello, this is Claus Jensen presenting my second video in my series Amazing Moves. And this time you're about to watch a game from Linares 1998. Topalov is white and Shirov is playing the black pieces. And the game was extremely exciting, but in this series I'm not going to do a very deep analysis on the game, but instead play fairly quickly through the games until we reach the position in which the amazing move was played. So the game started d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, Grünfeld defense, c takes d5, knight takes d5, e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, and bishop g7, the exchange variation in which Topalov now chose a rare sideline, bishop b5 check, c6, bishop a4, and Shirov castled, and then came knight e2, knight d7, castles, e5, and f3 was a novelty in this game. Shirov had actually played white in this position and tried bishop a3 at an earlier occasion. And another idea could be to play f4 instead, trying to challenge this e5 blockade immediately. But f3 from Topalov, queen e7, bishop e3, rook d8, queen c2, knight b6, bishop b3, bishop e6, rook a d1, knight c4, bishop c1, b5, f4, e takes d, knight takes d, bishop g4, rook d to e1, queen c5, and with king h1, Topalov unpins the knight and offers Shirov a pawn. But what Topalov had hoped for was that Shirov would take this pawn. Bishop takes d4, c takes, queen takes. But white has a very strong initiative for the pawn after f5, because black is missing his dark squared bishop and the other bishop is caught in enemy territory. So this would be very good for white. Instead, Shirov played a5. h3 followed, and although Shirov seems to have come well out of the opening, he has problems finding a good square for this light squared bishop. And Topalov still has resources. a4, b takes a4, and bishop a2. And now Topalov is increasing the pressure on the a2 g8 diagonal, because now the knight is no longer supported by the pawn on b5. Bishop e8, e5, knight b6, f5, knight d5. Again, Shirov blocks the a2 g8 diagonal, and this time he's also attacking the pawn on c3. And here Kasparov suggested that Topalov should have played f6, and after bishop f8 then e6, and this is surely looking very strong for white. But instead Topalov defended his pawn on c3, playing bishop d2. But now Shirov had the nice knight b4, which is a move designed to kill off the strong light squared bishop on a2. And if c takes b4, then queen takes c2, knight takes, rook takes d2, rook c1, and bishop takes e5 with a good game for black. So queen takes a4 came, and then Shirov kills off the dangerous bishop on a2. And after queen takes a2, then bishop takes e5, f takes g6, h takes, bishop g5, rook d5, rook e3. And here Shirov could also have taken a pawn. Bishop takes d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4. But this would also be a little dangerous for him. So instead he simply played queen d6. And then came queen e2, bishop d7, c4, bishop takes d4. And against bishop e7 in this position, Shirov gave rook e8, bishop takes d6, rook takes e3, queen takes e3, bishop takes e3, c takes, and c takes d5, which he considered to be an equal endgame. But here Topalov played c takes d5, and then came bishop takes e3, queen takes e3, rook e8, queen c3, and queen takes d5. And now it's clear that all winning chances are on Shirov's side. But even though he has 2 pawns, he has 2 problems in this position. One, he's weak on the dark squares around his king, which could produce counterplay for Topalov. And 2, there's always a danger of ending up in an opposite colored bishop endgame if rooks and queens are traded off. So Topalov played bishop h6, trying to create some counterplay on the dark squares. Rook e5 blocking the mate on g7, rook f3, queen c5, and queen a1. Topalov keeps his queen on the dangerous a1 h8 diagonal. Bishop f5, rook e3, f6 blocking the diagonal. Rook takes, queen takes. And the best defense now seems to be queen a3, because then c5 could be met by queen takes a5, which should be holdable for Topalov, I think. But he instead played queen a2 check, and then came queen d5. And now queen a3 is not as good as on the previous move, because Shirov would now have c5, and after queen takes a5, then he would have bishop takes h3, and queen d2, queen c6 would be very good for Shirov. So Topalov is forced to trade queens, and then came bishop d2 and a4, bishop c3, and we have reached this interesting opposite colored bishop ending. And although Shirov has 2 extra pawns, it's not just a walk in the park. King f7, h4, king e6, king g1. And in this position, a plan for black could be to march his king to the queen side to support the 2 passed pawns. For example, king d6. But the problem is that the f6 pawn is hanging, so bishop takes f6, and after king c5, king f2, it's not perfectly clear if black is able to win this position. Another plan could be to play f5 first, and only then let the king go to the queen side. So a move like bishop e4, making space for f5, and then beginning this march towards the queen side. Queen e3, king c5. This is a better plan for Shirov, but it's still not perfectly clear if black is winning in this position. And it may be that these plans would lead to a win for black. But no matter if the alternative plans mentioned above would lead to a win or not, Shirov surely found the most beautiful, the most surprising, and certainly also the most effective move in this position. And the move is surely one of the most amazing moves I have seen, and this is why this game belongs in this series of amazing moves. Shirov here played bishop h3, and this is completely winning. Of course, Topalov took the bishop. He could have played g3 instead, then king f5, king f2, king e4, bishop f takes f6, d4, bishop e7, king d3 would win for black. But Topalov, of course, took the bishop, and now we see the idea behind this bishop h3 move. Now Shirov is able to play king f5, and he can now leave the protection of f6, because now the tempo is right. King f2, king e4, bishop takes f6, and now d4. And now we see this tempo is right for black. Bishop e7 followed, king d3, bishop c5, king c4, bishop e7, and king b3. And it's impossible to stop the pawns. So, in fact, Topalov resigned in this position only a few moves after the amazing move bishop h3. A possible continuation could have been bishop c5, and then d3, king e3, king c2, bishop b4, and after a3 the white bishop is overworked. It cannot protect both d2 and and taking the pawn on a3. So, having watched this game, I think you agree with me that this was a very exciting game with good imaginative chess from both sides, and when a game of this quality is topped with an amazing move like Shirov's bishop a3, it's becoming more than just good chess, it's becoming art. So, I hope you enjoyed this second video in my series on amazing moves, and I hope to see you on my chess website on klausjensen.com. Bye bye for now.